Hi guys, I'm Calley. Thanks for coming and joining me for yoga. Let's all make sure that we have some comfortable clothes on, a nice quiet spot to do some yoga, and a big bottle of water. We'll just start out with our legs straight out in front of us, sitting up nice and tall, maybe walking those hips back so you can lengthen that spine. Trying to imagine that somebody's pulling you up by a string through the top of your head, sitting up just as tall as you can, pulling that belly in. And then we'll start to point those toes out in front of you, seeing if you can get those toes to touch the floor. And then pulling those toes back just as far as you can toward your face. Just moving through that a couple of times. Then we'll start to take those feet in some big circles, starting to wake up your ankles, and then changing the direction. And starting to walk those legs out nice and wide. Sitting up tall, bringing those hands back behind you. And then we'll start to turn to face that right leg, looking toward those right toes, starting to walk those hands forward, maybe finding that grip on your ankle, maybe reaching over the tops of your toes here, taking a big deep breath, making that spine nice and long. And as you exhale, seeing if you can hinge forward, bringing your nose down toward your knee, maybe keeping your knee bent a little bit here if you want to, or maybe starting to straighten that leg out. Seeing if you can bring that nose down just a little bit deeper as you exhale. Taking those big breaths, filling up with air. Exhale, melting it down. And then starting to walk those hands over to the other side. Finding your grip here, maybe bringing that grip on top of your shin. Maybe reaching for the ball of your foot. Maybe bending that leg or straightening it out. Nice long spine. On your exhale, hinging forward, bringing that nose down. Just using that breath, taking those nice deep inhales and exhales. And then starting to walk those hands back to the middle of your mat. Seeing if you can walk those fingertips out just a little bit further. Maybe reaching out farther than your feet here. Breathing into it. Might start to reach for those big toes, bringing those peace fingers around those toes, and then sitting up nice and tall. Or maybe bringing that grip onto those shins. Whatever feels best. And we'll start to bring those feet together, sitting in cobbler's pose. Cobbler's pose. Starting to open those knees up. Maybe bringing those thumbs to the inside of your feet. And just starting to open those toes up like you're opening up a book. You might also use those elbows to help open those hips up just a little bit more, maybe rocking from side to side. And then starting to wag those knees up and down like butterfly wings. Just breathing those nice deep breaths. And as you're ready, we're going to come over onto all fours, finding that tabletop position. Making that nice strong base, really spreading those fingers wide, grounding those knees, keeping that spine nice and flat. And then we'll move through our cat-cow. On that inhale, dropping your belly, lifting that chest up, coming into your cow position. Exhale, rounding your spine, pulling that tummy in, tucking your chin to your chest. Just moving through that a few times. One more. Coming back to your tabletop. Starting to ground your right hand into the mat. We'll bring that left hand up in front of you. Reaching long, bringing that right leg back. Trying to see if you can get your arm and your leg parallel to the floor, really reaching in opposite directions, lifting that arm, lifting that leg up. And as you exhale, we'll bring that knee in to meet your elbow, hugging everything in and up. Inhale, reaching it out. Exhale, pulling it in. 2 more. And then reaching long, lowering it down, moving through cat-cow. Inhale, dropping your belly, lifting your chest. Exhale, rounding it in, pulling that belly in and up. And coming back to tabletop, grounding your left hand, reaching your right arm out. Left leg comes up behind you, nice long line, reaching in opposite directions. And as you exhale, pulling that elbow in to meet your knee, hugging everything in and up. Inhale, reaching it out. Exhale, pulling it in. 2 more. And then reaching long, lowering down. Moving through cat-cow. Inhale, dropping your belly, lifting your chest. Exhale, rounding it in. And starting to come back into a nice, comfortable child's pose. Pulling those hips back, reaching those fingertips forward, walking it out. Seeing if you can lower it down just a little bit more as you breathe out. Then we'll start to walk those hands over to the left-hand side of your mat. Maybe bringing that right hand on top of your left hand, feeling that nice deep stretch through the side of your body, bringing those hips back toward your heels. And then starting to walk it back to the center and over to the other side, bringing your left hand on top. Melting it back, sinking down into it, using your breath. And coming back to the middle. We're going to start to take some nice big circles. So as you inhale, we'll start to lean to that left side as you come forward into your low plank, dropping your belly down. Exhale, pulling those hips to the right, coming back to child's pose. Inhale, coming to your left, flowing around. Exhale, pulling it back. Just a couple more in that direction. And then pausing in your child's pose and moving the other way. Inhaling to the right, flowing forward. Exhaling it back. Inhale, coming forward. Exhaling it back. One more. Coming back to that child's pose, taking a breath. And then returning to your tabletop position, tucking those toes underneath you, and on that inhale, start to lift those hips up, coming into your down dog. Taking a minute to start to pedal those knees right and left. Starting to get everything moving, starting to loosen up your joints here. Maybe bending deep into your right knee, really opening up that left side. And then doing the same thing on the other side. And then starting to look up to the top of the mat. We'll step those feet up. Coming to stand right in between those hands. Really grounding those feet into the mat. Keeping those knees bent. Maybe taking a minute to bounce up and down for just a minute. Maybe starting to bend through one knee and then the other, wiggling those hips out. And then maybe grabbing those elbows and just hanging here like a rag doll, letting that spine be nice and long, reaching down through the crown of your head. And then releasing that grip. We'll start to roll it up nice and slow, coming up one vertebrae at a time, bringing your chin out last, rolling those shoulders back. And just starting to take some nice big shoulder rolls here, letting those elbows come out wide. And finally straightening those arms, rowing those arms back. And then pausing back here, we'll bring those arms the other way, inhaling them back, exhale, bringing them forward. And then starting to bring it back in, bending those elbows, making those movements get smaller and smaller, until you're just shrugging those shoulders. And then standing up nice and tall, bringing those toes together. We'll inhale those arms up, reaching for that ceiling, bringing those hands together, crossing those thumbs. Nice deep breath. And on that exhale, reaching those fingers up and over to the right. Inhaling back to the middle and exhaling to the other side. Just moving through this a couple of times. Waking up that spine, waking up your side body. And as you've evened out on both sides, meeting back in the middle. Nice deep breath, reaching up tall on that exhale, lifting that chest up. Starting to lift your gaze up, looking at the ceiling. Pushing your hips forward and then starting to pull those fingertips toward that wall behind you. Maybe starting to walk those eyes back across your ceiling, maybe seeing that wall as you come into that nice deep back bend. And inhaling it up. And on your exhale, we'll start to hinge forward. Bringing those hands down to the mat. Lowering those hips down over your heels and popping up high onto the balls of your feet, squatting down nice and low. And then just starting to move those knees right and left, letting that head hang between your knees, rounding your spine. And pausing in the middle, gluing those heels down, starting to lift those hips up. Bending through one knee and then the other. Moving those hips right and left. Pausing in the center. We'll take a nice deep bend into your knees, gluing your belly right down on top of those thighs. No daylight there. Starting to reach around the backs of your calves, seeing if you can find that grip on your ankles. Maybe even tucking those fingers under the balls of your feet if your arms are long enough. Nice deep breath. And on your exhale, starting to straighten those legs, lifting those hips up toward the ceiling, keeping that spine nice and long, really reaching down through the crown of your head. One more breath, seeing if you can straighten those legs out just a little bit more. And then bringing those hands back together, inhaling yourself up. Exhale, arms by your side. Taking a breath. And on your next inhale, arms come up, hands together. Exhale, hands down, heart center. Inhale, reaching it up. Exhale, hinging it forward. Hands to the mat. Inhale, coming halfway up, bringing those hands to your shins and lengthening through your spine. And on your exhale, bringing your hands down, stepping it back, coming to plank or knee plank, maybe dropping those knees down. Either way, keeping that spine nice and long, and then keeping those elbows in close to your body. We'll start to lower down, bringing that chest toward the mat, untucking those toes, coming through your cobra pose. Really pushing the tops of your feet down, lifting through your chest, maybe lifting that gaze up. And exhale, tucking those toes underneath you, pulling back up into your down dog. Taking a breath, pedaling those legs out. And then starting to look up to the top of the mat, starting to step those feet up. Bringing those feet right in between those hands, pedaling those knees out. And on your inhale, we'll start to roll it up again, nice and slow. Bringing that chin out last. Standing in Tadasana. Bringing those toes together. And on that inhale, arms come up. On your exhale, we're going to bring that right arm underneath your left arm. Just twisting those arms together, seeing if you can bring those palms together. Or maybe just grabbing those opposite shoulders here. Starting to move from side to side, wherever you're at. Keeping those elbows pulled down. And then we'll all meet back in the middle, starting to bring that weight into your left foot, grounding into all four corners of your foot, sinking down into that knee. On that inhale, we'll bring that right leg up over that left leg. Maybe propping those toes here, or maybe binding those toes behind your calf, coming into your eagle pose. Finding your balance. Nice deep breath, keeping that gaze out in front of you, keeping that belly pulled in, keeping that spine long. And as you're ready, you might start to sink those hips down. Keeping your spine nice and long, really wrapping those arms tight, coming down just a little bit deeper. And release. Swinging both arms up. This time, left arm comes underneath that right arm, twisting it together, bringing those palms together, or grabbing those opposite shoulders. Either way, moving it around. And coming back to the middle, bringing that weight over into that right leg this time, grounding your foot, sinking down into that knee. And on that inhale, bringing that left leg up and over, twisting those legs together, lifting that chest, looking straight ahead of you. And as you're ready, you might start to sink those hips down toward the mat, keeping that spine long, trying to keep that balance here, seeing if you can sink down just a little bit deeper. And release. Both arms come up. Exhale, hinging forward. Hands to the mat. Inhale, coming halfway up, lengthening that spine. Exhale, stepping it back, coming to plank or knee plank. And as you're ready, lowering down, pulling those elbows in, pushing the tops of the feet down into the mat, coming to your cobra. And then pulling back into your down dog, lifting those hips up, pedaling those legs out. And then we'll start to bring those toes together. And on your inhale, bringing that right leg up behind you, really reaching through your heel, pushing into your palms. Exhale, pulling that knee into your chest, stepping that foot through between your hands and dropping that back knee down, coming into a low lunge here. Just starting to sway from one side to the other. And then we'll start to bring that right hand to the inside of your foot. And on your inhale, bringing that left arm up, opening your chest, maybe looking up to that hand above you. Exhale, lowering it down, bringing that left hand down, right arm comes up, twisting to the other side. Exhale, lowering that right hand, starting to walk that foot out just a little bit wider. And then maybe starting to lower yourself down, coming into your lizard's pose. And here, you can take a nice deep breath. And on your exhale, sticking that tongue out, breathing that air out, using that lion's breath, making that sound as you breathe out. Inhale, filling it up, exhale, sticking that tongue out, breathing it out. One more time. And then starting to walk that foot back in, bringing those hands on either side of your foot, tucking your back toes underneath you, pulling that right knee in and sending that foot up behind you. Lowering it down, walking it out for just a minute. And then pausing in the middle. On your inhale, lifting that left leg up, reaching through your heel. Exhale, pulling that knee in, stepping that foot through, lowering your back knee, untucking your toes, coming into your low lunge. Maybe just taking a minute, rocking from side to side here. And this time we'll bring that left hand to the inside of your foot. And on your inhale, right arm comes up. Lifting that gaze up, reaching through those right fingers. Exhale, lowering it down. Inhale, left arm comes up, twisting to the other side. Exhale, lowering it down. Walking that foot out. And then just starting to lower it down, maybe coming down onto your forearms here if you can. Nice deep breath. And on your exhale, sticking that tongue out, using that lion's breath. And again. One more time. And walking that foot back in, tucking those back toes underneath you, pulling that knee in and sending that foot up behind you. Lowering it down. And starting to look up to the top of the mat. We'll start to walk those feet up, grounding into those feet. This time bringing those feet just a little bit wider, just about hip width distance. Grounding both feet into the mat, keeping those knees bent, nice and deep, and on your inhale, lift those arms up, coming into your chair pose. Bringing that weight into your heels, really lengthening your spine, reaching through those fingertips, seeing if you can sink those hips back just a little bit more. Inhale, reach. And this time on your exhale, opening to the left. Reaching those hands in opposite directions. Pulling that left shoulder back, keeping those knees pointing straight ahead. Inhaling it back to the center. Exhaling to the other side. Inhaling back to the center. Bringing those hands to heart center, straightening those legs. And then starting to bring that weight over into that left foot this time. Bringing those hands to your hips. And on that inhale, we're going to start to lift that right knee up in front of you, starting to flex those toes out. And if you're ready, starting to straighten that leg out in front of you, keeping that nice long spine, keeping that gaze out ahead of you. And then you might start to bend that knee and sending that foot back behind you. Maybe propping those toes back here. Maybe starting to hover those toes back behind you. Maybe bringing those arms back, coming into your airplane pose. Seeing if you can bring your leg parallel to the mat. Bringing that gaze down in front of you. And as you're ready, bringing that foot back down, coming back to your Tadasana, taking a breath. And then starting to bring that weight over into that right foot. Grounding your foot, nice strong leg here. We'll inhale that left leg up, flexing your toes back. Bringing those hands to your hips. And as you're ready, starting to straighten that leg out in front of you, using that nice strong core, really lifting up tall. And if you're ready, starting to send that leg back behind you. Maybe propping those toes back here. Maybe starting to hover those toes. Maybe bringing those arms back behind you, coming into your airplane pose. Flying those arms. Bringing that gaze down in front of you. And as you're ready, coming back to stand in Tadasana, taking a breath. And we'll inhale, swooping those arms up. Exhale, hinging forward, bringing those hands in front of you, stepping back to plank. And then maybe starting to lower your right knee down, grounding into your right hand, starting to reach up through that left arm, coming into your side plank. You might start to lift that right knee up too, coming into your full side plank, staying nice and strong, keeping those hips lifted. Maybe starting to bring that gaze up to your left thumb. And exhale, lowering it down, bringing that left knee down, bringing that weight into your left hand and reaching through those right fingers. Maybe starting to lift that left knee up too. Coming into your full side plank, keeping those hips lifted, staying nice and strong, and then lowering it down. Coming back to plank or knee plank, and this time lowering all the way down to the mat. Pushing those tops of the feet down into the mat behind you, gluing those legs together, bringing those arms out wide. Like you have airplane wings. Hands just a little bit lower than your shoulders, gluing your fingers together. And on your inhale, start to lift up through your chest. Lifting up through those legs, starting to pull those hands back as you open those palms. Seeing if you can lift it all up just a little bit higher. One more breath. And letting it go. Coming down to the mat, taking a breath here. And getting ready for our floor bow pose. We'll start to bend those knees in, bringing those heels in close to your bottom, Reaching around, finding that grip on your ankles. Bringing your knees back together. Taking a nice deep breath. And on your exhale, start to lift up your thighs. Inhale as you lift your chest up. Finding that bow shape of your back. Using your body like a teeter-totter, rocking back and forth. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lift. And release. Taking a breath. And then starting to pull back, coming back into your child's pose. Just taking a couple of breaths. Inhale, filling it up. Exhale, sticking your tongue out. Nice big lion's breath. 2 more of those. And then starting to walk your knees up. We'll cross those heels over, rolling over onto your bottom. Bringing the soles of the feet to your mat. Reaching those arms out in front of you. And then we'll start to lift those heels up off the mat, starting to come into your boat pose. Keeping that back nice and long. Reaching through those fingers. On that inhale, we'll bring those arms up, straightening those legs out. Exhale, hands to the left. Inhaling it up. Exhaling to the right. This is called rowing your boat. Inhale, reach. Exhale. Once more on each side. And then extending it out, and this time we'll lower down just as slow as we can for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Taking a breath. And then starting to ground your left heel into the mat, we'll start to bring that right knee in toward your chest. Finding that grip on your shin, taking a big deep breath, filling up your belly. Exhale, pulling that knee in toward your shoulder. This is a good one if you ever have a bellyache, any kind of indigestion, anything like that. Nice deep breath, filling it up. Exhale, bringing that leg to the outside edge of your belly, pulling it in just a little bit deeper. One more breath. And release. Either sliding that heel forward or floating that leg down nice and slow. Grounding your right heel. Inhaling your left knee to your chest. Finding that grip. Taking that big, deep breath. Exhale, pulling that knee in. Bringing that leg to the outside edge of your belly. Seeing if you can keep both shoulders down. Taking a big, deep breath. And pulling it in just a little bit deeper. And then releasing that grip. Floating that foot down nice and slow, or just sliding that heel out. On your next inhale, we'll bring both knees to your chest, wrapping those arms over the top, and then loosening that grip until you can bring both shoulders down, tucking that chin into your chest, taking that nice big breath, filling it up. Exhale, pulling those knees in, pushing all of that air out of your belly. One more. And then releasing that grip, either sliding those feet out or floating them down nice and slow. Bringing soles of the feet to the mat. Maybe windshield wipering those legs out for just a minute. And then you might like to reach between those legs, finding a grip on the outside edges of your feet and coming into happy baby. Just letting those shoulders soften down, letting those feet come up above you, maybe bending one leg and then the other, maybe rocking from one side to the other. And as you're ready, we'll all start to settle down into our final Shavasana. Letting those legs come out straight in front of you, tucking those shoulders underneath you slightly, trying to lengthen your spine on the mat. Just closing your eyes down and taking those nice deep breaths, letting go of all of the thoughts of your day, letting your body be perfectly relaxed here. Staying here for as long as you like. Knowing that if you ever just need a little time to chill out, you can always come back to Shavasana. And then we'll just start to wiggle those toes, wiggling those fingers, starting to deepen your breath. Reaching those arms up overhead, taking a nice long stretch. And on your exhale, pulling those knees in, giving yourself a big old hug, rocking from side to side. And as you're ready, rolling over to one side, cradling your head, just taking a couple of breaths. As you're ready, pushing up into a nice comfortable seated position. Maybe sitting cross-legged here. Walking those sits bones out until you can sit up nice and tall, bringing those hands into prayer. Thank you guys for coming and doing yoga with me. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Namaste.